need help! Now!
What have you done to my daughter? The billionaire's furious voice split the emergency room like lightning. Nurses froze, monitors beeped, and all eyes turned toward the trembling waitress still wearing her stained apron. She had just carried his child through the night, racing against death. But now, under the blinding hospital lights, the doctor's words would stop every heartbeat in the room. She was poisoned. The diner was a forgotten place on the edge of town. Neon lights flickered outside, buzzing against the midnight air, while the smell of burnt coffee clung to the walls. Amara wiped down the counter, her hands aching, her apron streaked with grease. Another endless shift. She lived in the shadows of other people's lives serving meals, pouring coffee, cleaning up the messes no one else wanted to touch. To most customers, she was invisible. But fate had chosen this very night to test her in ways she could never imagine. A sleek black limousine pulled into the lot, so out of place it might have been a spaceship landing in a desert. Out stepped Adrian Stone, billionaire, ruthless magnate, a man who could silence boardrooms with a single glance. But tonight, he carried not contracts or power, but his little daughter wrapped in a pink coat, her small hands clutching a stuffed bear. The sight stunned Amara. What was a man of empires doing in her rundown diner? Security hovered like shadows, but Adrian's eyes were fixed only on the girl. For a moment, the untouchable titan looked simply like a father. The child colored quietly on a napkin, while Adrian argued into his phone. Amara approached with a plate of fries, balancing it carefully. But before she could place it down, the crayon slipped from the girl's fingers. Her body stiffened, then slumped, her small frame trembling. Her lips paled, her eyes rolled. The plate crashed to the floor. Adrian dropped his phone, his face draining of color. The diner filled with gasps. For the first time in his life, Adrian Stone, the man who could buy anything, looked utterly helpless. While others froze, Amara moved. She rushed to the child, pressing trembling fingers against her tiny neck. The pulse was weak, thready. She tilted the girl's head, checking her breast shallow, fading. Adrian shouted for his guards, but Amara cut through the noise. She can't wait. She needs the aid now. Without hesitation, she scooped the child into her arms. For a heartbeat, Adrian hesitated, trusting his empire over a waitress. But as he saw his daughter's head lolling against Amara's shoulder, he followed, powerless, desperate. They didn't take the limousine. There was no time for protocol, no time for luxury. Amara strapped the girl into her old sedan's back seat. The engine sputtered, but her hands gripped the wheel like steel. Adrian sat beside his daughter, pressing his hand against her chest, whispering broken prayers he hadn't said in years. Tires screeched against asphalt, headlights cut through the dark. Horns blared as Amara wove through traffic, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Stay with me, sweetheart. Just a little longer. The hospital doors burst open as Amara carried the child inside. Doctors rushed forward, lifting the girl onto a gurney, attaching wires, shouting codes. The fluorescent lights were harsh, the air thick with antiseptic. Adrian's guards shoved through the crowd, but even their presence felt small here. Money meant nothing in this sterile battlefield. Adrian turned on Amara, his grief twisting into suspicion. His voice roared, raw and unfiltered. What have you done to my daughter? The accusation cracked through the air, and every head turned. The doors swung open again. A doctor in green scrubs emerged, peeling off his gloves, his expression grave. The room held its breath. She was poisoned, he said. Gasps erupted. Adrian staggered back as though struck. His daughter poisoned! Eyes swung to Amara. She stood frozen, her apron stained, her hands shaking. The whispers began. Who was she? What had she done? No, Amara whispered, her voice breaking. I would never. Her eyes darted, searching her memory. Then it hit her, the fries. She remembered the ketchup bottle on the counter, the strange bitter smell, the way it hadn't felt right in her hand. Her chest tightened. "It wasn't me," she said louder, firmer now. "It was the food. Someone tampered with it." The doctor nodded grimly. Traces of a toxic substance had been found in the samples. The poison had been real, but so had Amara's courage. Adrian's fury crumbled into shame. His voice faltered, softer now. "You saved her." He turned toward Amara, his eyes wet. "And I accused you." Silence fell heavy around them. Nurses paused. Machines beeped steadily. The child's monitor showing signs of recovery. Amara wiped at her eyes. "I only did what anyone should." But the truth was undeniable. When others froze, when Billionaire shouted, she had been the only one to act. Hours later, dawn broke outside the hospital windows, painting the halls in gold. Adrian stood at the glass of his daughter's recovery room. Inside, the little girl slept peacefully, her stuffed bear at her side. At her bedside sat Amara, still in her stained uniform, holding the child's hand as though it were her own. For the first time, Adrian understood. Wealth could build empires, but it could not buy the courage that lived in her. And as he turned to leave, he whispered a vow never again to measure worth in dollars, but in dignity.